Welcome to the Prosper series, where we share the stories of remarkable veterans and military families who have prospered in their life after service. I'm your host, Talissa Pappamount. In today's episode, we welcome our guest, McQuilty Quirke, aka Coco. McQuilty Quirke, NSC, enlisted into the Australian Army on the 7th of December 1999 into none other than God's Corps, the Royal Australian Medical Corps. In 2001, he was deployed as part of Op Tanaga, East Timor. He deployed again to Iraq in 2006 and returned in December. Unfortunately, he was diagnosed with PTSD and would spend the next 3 years recovering. McQuilty deployed to Afghanistan in 2011 and was wounded in action on the 13th of August 2011. After serving 18 years, he left the military in 2017. In the same year, and during a grueling rehabilitation of his injuries, he completed a Bachelor of Sports and Exercise Science. McQuilty and his wife Tammy are heavily involved in the veteran community. Through his keynote speaking business, McQuilty engages with professional sporting teams, private enterprise and corporations, speaking on the importance of positive mindset, leadership and mental health. McQuilty is an ambassador for veteran charity Swiss Aid. So, Coco, it's wonderful to have you here on Prosper. Like so many in the veteran community, I have complete admiration and respect for you. So, to kick this off, what led you to joining the ADF?
TJ, it's a pleasure to be here. I actually read a story when I was sitting in a bus in grade 10 about the medics at Long Tan, and I made my decision straight away that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a medic and save lives, and I told my teacher that I was finishing up. I won't need to finish high school, and he said, "You'll finish grade 12 and then you can join," which is probably the best advice I've ever got for school.
Yeah.
So I ended up finishing school and then enlisted in 1999, and 7th of December I was off my way to Kapuka to, learn how to be a little soldier.
That's great. Good old Camp Pookie. I was a bit the same, actually. I think growing up, I heard the stories of Simpson and his donkey, and I think that's something that really appealed to the service ethos that I think are in so many people that serve and join the military. And so, yeah, medics all the way. I'll try not to be too biased in this interview.
I'm going to be biased.
I'm all for the medics. So,
best corps in the Defence Force.
100%. So, I thought throughout your military career, I mean, you've done so much, but I'd love for you just to talk through some of the highlights, some of your accomplishments, and any defining moments.
Yeah, 18 years in medical corps, and I actually discharged on the 7th of December in 2017. So I got 18 years right on the dot. 3 deployments, East Timor in 2001, Iraq 2006, and Afghanistan in 2011, and coincidentally all with Alpha Company 2 RER, which is something I'm really proud of. I did a lot of work with 2 RER, and that's probably my one of my biggest positive memories is working with them lads and ladies. Nursing Service Cross in 2007, I was awarded that, and that's probably the pinnacle of my career, is getting awarded that for an incident up at High Range. A young captain had a tree fall on his head, and we managed to get him out of the turret and onto a chopper. That was a big day. And of course, like deploying 3 times with the same unit is a rare feat. Meeting my wife is probably one of my proudest moments of my career, has been able to meet her in Townsville and have 2 beautiful kids with her. So I proud to be a medic for the entire time. There was a period though that I was considering switching across to Intel after I came back from Iraq in 2006. I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress. So I was in the middle of making decisions that would have had a different trajectory, but my support network just said, let's take 6 months and work it out from there. So that's what we did, and I ended up staying in the best corps in Australian Army, and became a medic and a teacher and enjoyed every bit of it.
I think I first met you when I was a very young medic, when you were at the Army School of Health as an instructor. it's I always, very, very much remember you fondly, and you were one of the fun ones. So um,
Yes, yeah. They were good days. 2009, instructing at School of Health, and having an opportunity to provide a bit of lived experience. We had a really good crew there. Out of all the instructors, there was two that had never deployed. So I think that 2009 year, the level of professionalism and the level of instruction was really high, and there was a lot of lived experience in that room. And we got to impose that on all of you baby medics, and we had a blast doing it. I mean, all of us had a minimum of 2 trips, and there was a number of lads, a couple of really good mates of mine that were from the special forces world. So use that year, you had instruction from some of the best across defence, and I'm really proud to have been part of that group to impart some knowledge on you guys. And I'm glad that you took it and ran with it too, because we could see that you were going to be good medics. Like we were pretty hard on you. Admittedly, we
mm.
probably marked you a lot higher than we should have, but we held you to a high standard, and I think that rubbed off on all of you, because in the next few years you all did some amazing things and deployed. So pretty proud to have been there for the start of your journey.
Do you think being so close to I think it's a unique thing for medics, and I think it sets us apart a bit to sort of healthcare, well, some healthcare professionals in the
Yeah.
civilian world, that you tend to know and you can be quite close to those that you treat. Do you think that's sort of a consideration as well when you are embedded and know the unit as well as you do? Do you think it can make it challenging?
Yeah, it does. It does. You have to take that into consideration, I think. And you've got to learn how to separate that emotional connection,
Mm,
particularly if you're treating them. And yes, they might be
mm,
your best mates. You live with them day in, day out, but the good medics know how to separate that emotional connection. And it's hard to do, because you've got to
mm.
look at them as just another number. Um, And because medics are so giving and our hearts are so big, and we want to give the best care to everybody, it's really hard sometimes to separate that emotional connection and treat them as just another soldier. And I think the benefits though outweigh that for me. I think if you know that person inside out, you're going to work your bum off to give them the best care that's required when they need it the most. And their
Yep.
worst day is our best day. We live for trauma, and if I think the hardest thing is that people don't separate the emotion and they get caught up into it, and that's going to affect how you treat. Um,
Mm.
so it's another double-edged sword, and I think it's got to be lived experience to teach that, and we don't get utilised enough. I think we should be going in to speak to these new medics and explaining that sort of process to them, that there has to be a separation, but at the end of the day, when you leave, you're just another number that leaves, and they're not really concerned about that lived experience that goes with you. So, I've still got some good ties in defence, and I try to get in there as much as I can. But it's about who's there, and if they want you to come out and teach medics that sort of concept, that know your soldiers really well, but also know how to separate your emotional connection to that soldier.
And I think it's definitely a challenge that comes with a unique challenge about being a medic. But I've been contacted since that it's, when shit hits the fan and people are seriously injured, it is a comfort to the soldier that is injured, or the veteran that is injured, that they actually know the person that's looking after them. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
whilst it's it can come at a toll or a cost, I think it's something that's well worth it for sure.
It is that, and like, it's trust. It's massive on
Mm.
trust. And any infantry soldier, if they don't trust you as a medic, they're not going to want you to work on them. And the same goes for the SF boys. Like, if they don't trust the medics they're going with them, the kilos, then they're not going to want to get treated by them. But any unit you go to, we should be trying to build on that trust and trying to build on that emotional connection and understanding your soldiers better than they understand themselves sometimes. And then as soon as you build that link, it's amazing what you can achieve. Um,
No.
but yeah, it's hard, mate. It's really hard to try and teach teach that skill. It's a learned skill. You got to live. You got to learn it from people that have lived through it. So hopefully they get better at doing it.
Yeah, 100%. Hopefully this, chats like this are a step towards the right direction as well.
Absolutely, mate. Yep, absolutely.
One of the other things I wanted to talk to you about, and I probably should have brought that a little earlier, was around your Afghanistan trip and when you were involved in the incident. Are you able to just talk on that quickly for us today?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, definitely. 13th of August, 2011. Responded to an IED blast on a vehicle for one of our patrols. We loaded up the engineers and the crewie and the rear gunner and threw them all in the car, and I was on the rear gun. I get questioned a lot about why I did that, but I was the only clear-headed person in the back of that car, so they'd all been knocked out for a period up to 10 minutes, and I wasn't comfortable putting them on the gun. We travelled about 200 metres back down the road towards our patrol base, which was just over a K away. We had a 50-kilo device with 2 anti-tank mines on it, detonated command pull, so we pulled a kite string until the wires
Jeez.
connected through the vehicle 10 metres, and I got ejected out of the rehatch, flew 30 metres and landed on this head, which is why I got a head for radio. And yeah, I was on the ground for about 8.5 minutes before they realised I wasn't in the car. So the boys found me, saved my life. I was on the ground for 2 hours. Nil signs of life for the last 8 minutes I was there, 4 minutes on the ground and 4 minutes in a helicopter. Woke up and looked at the loadie halfway back to Tarankout. Resus table for 5 hours with the team working on me. Into surgery for about 11 to 13 hours and died in surgery. They brought me back, and then we flew down to Kandahar, got a full body scan, and they realised I'd shattered 2 vertebrae in my back and broke my right leg, my right ankle, my left foot. My left femur was shattered, my left elbow was shattered, my right hand was pretty banged up. Had some bumps and bruises on the skull, and flew me to Germany, and passed away on the way to Germany and did an emergency landing, and they brought me back with an American guy. Landed in Germany on the 15th of August, woke up on the 16th on my 31st birthday, and the surgeon said happy birthday, and I asked him who he was. Shouldn't swear on there, but that's what I said to him. So yeah, it was, and then Tam got flown in on the 17th of August to Germany, and that was a really emotional day. And then I just spent the next 2 weeks going in and out of surgery, and I went from 103 kilos to 79 kilos, had, eating half a banana every second day. Really big surgeries. I landed back in Australia on the 31st of August. I got up 3 months later and walked after they told me I wouldn't be walking for 18 months. I don't agree with that. So I just got up and walked in front of the doctor, and he said, you might as well let me start walking. And I didn't want to be on a wheelchair when the boys landed on Australia Day in 2012. So I walked out to them on the plane and met them with a walking stick, and that blew their minds. But 39 procedures later, I'm sitting here talking to you with a really happy mindset, and still regard that as one of the best days of my life. So it's never a bad day for me. It's amazing because I'm still here talking to you, and I've got some of my best mates in the world that saved my life that day, and we still catch up. So it's special. So I put it up there with having kids and getting married. So yeah, it's one of them days, like it's just a day of my life.
It's one of those experiences that colors how you see the rest of life forever.
It does, yeah. I mean, I was kind of lucky. Timor for me was one of those places that woke my eyes up to say, hey, Coco, you're good. Like, we've got everything you could ever ask for. And those kids are playing with a water, like an empty water bottle as a soccer ball. That's gave me a really good understanding of being grateful. But after Iraq, on the PTSD journey, like that just cemented how lucky I am. And then coming back after, being wounded, it just, I'm blessed and lucky that people have been watching over me. My grandfather's watched over me. So, it's a learning circle. So if you're not learning, you're below the line. If you are learning, you're above it. So I try to keep learning and staying above the line. That's important for me.
It's important for you, and I think you'll find it's a huge inspiration to others who have known you. and follow what you get yourself up to.
Yeah, it's good, mate. It's like if I can just be a positive influence on one person every day and they respond to that, then I'm having a great day. Like you can't get caught up around the ankles about all the negative stuff around us. Just you can push that to the side and wake up with a smile and tell yourself that you love yourself, and then show love to the people around you. Then we've got a pretty good life, regardless of else is happening.
So if it's all right, I'd like to talk a little bit about some of your sort of service injuries,
Yeah.
notwithstanding that the focus today is really about how you've used those experiences to empower you and move forward and create,
Yep.
positive change in the world. But, I'm aware, obviously you've mentioned that you have had post-traumatic stress. I'm interested in somebody who's obviously had the condition now for a number of times. What sort of advice would you give people that might be struggling with mental health or, something like post-traumatic stress?
Mate, that's a really good question. And for me, it's about awareness and education. So you don't actually know what you're doing because you can't see it. So
Hmm.
having a really strong support network around you with your family and mates, it's really important to listen because they're going to pull you up when you're displaying emotions and anger and stuff like that. And I wasn't aware that I was doing it. My wife she pull me up on it. So, and my kids, so that strong support network is super important. And this is the thing, in defense, you work in a small team, and for any mission, there's a number of variables that come into play, but there's also a number of support elements that come into play. So an infantry section can't complete their mission without a medic attached, without an FO to call in the bombs, without an engineer. So we build that team environment. When we leave, we seem to forget that we can still build that team environment on the outside. So understanding that you need a good, strong support network that you can call in to support you, and they'll help you stand up, they'll help you lie down, they'll take the battles with you. That's one of the most important things. The second one is that you need to be really open to education about what you're struggling with. The PTSD, we know that it comes in various levels, and it's always going to be associated with something like depression or anxiety. Now, if you have a closed mindset, you're not going to learn about anything and you won't get better. And you're going to spiral and spiral and spiral. And it feels like you're spinning your wheels in the same spot for ages. So being aware of that there is information out there that can help you, but then also understanding that you need to go through an education process to change how you think and what you feel so that you can start to get a better understanding of what's happening inside your head. And thirdly is professional help is super important. And a lot of diggers don't want to get professional help. They think they can bulldoze through on their own. They think because they talk to their mates that that's enough, and it's not. So I always tell people it's okay if you talk to your mates. That's cool. Talk to your mates about stuff, but that's still not going to help you break it down into bite-sized pieces that you can process. And you need a medical professional, a psychologist, psychiatrist, counselor. People that are trained to help you process that information and put into manageable chunks for you to absorb and you to process. Excuse me. And those are the three things that I always talk about. Strong support network, being open and aware of the training and understanding that you need to go through that. Yeah, seeking that professional help. It's really important. Like I couldn't have got through PTSD the way I did if I didn't have professional help. So people sometimes they've just got to understand that they're not going to get that from their mates and they're not going to get that from their family because they're not professionals.
Yep. No, I look at the awesome insights and advice, and I think the people who have lived with conditions successfully really have the insights and experience to sort of say, well, these are the key things, or this is what's helped me,
Yeah.
as on the journey, so to speak. I'm keen to talk about your transition and what led you to leaving the ADF.
hmm Yeah. I really wanted to do 20 years too. So my transition was, I
Close.
call it I was close. The transition for me was easy because I'd spent 3 years essentially on long-term education, going to uni, going home. Um, and that's why I call it a soft transition, is because the day that I finished up and discharged on the 7th of December 2017, I was fully in that mindset that I was good, I was okay, I had education behind me, and I was going to go out and do the things that I wanted to do. And that made it so much easier to transition after 18 years, especially when you join at a time where we kicked off deployment central, and you like
Hmm.
the amount of training that we did, the times we went out bush for 12 weeks, all of that was geared towards fighting. So I had a really soft transition, and I watched people have a hard transition where one day they're in and one day they're out. And that was tough because they'd be driving to work and I'll be talking to them and I'll be like, "Where you going?" And like, "I'm heading to work." And I was like, "Dude, you discharged yesterday. Like, what are you doing?" Like, and they just into that routine. So um, I knew I was ready to go, and as much as I was disappointed that I couldn't do the 20 years, I was still proud that I'd given 18 years and managed to influence some young diggers and in a positive way, and limited my um, arrests to 2. So my charges. I only had 2 on the books, which I'm pretty lucky about because I got looked after a lot.
Well, the ones on the books are the only ones that count, right?
And absolutely, they didn't catch me the rest of the time. So, and I will never admit to anything.
That's right, absolutely. So, um, part of this chat is also focusing on financial well-being, and I guess the
Yep,
importance of financial well-being. And I think looking back, it was a bit of a missing piece. I think those, like you said, it was deployment central, and I think a lot of veterans could have, with the right education and the right mindset, have invested in ways that would have furthered them and really helped them in their transition. Or
absolutely.
equally, as you did, you did your bachelor in exercise sports science, which again, employability or tertiary education is part of how you ensure financial well-being.
Yep.
So, were there any? How important do you think financial well-being is for veterans these days?
Mate, I think it's super important, especially when you put it that way. Um, it is a missing piece, and there's not much
Well,
education on it. And even when you go through transition seminars, it's like a lot of big words thrown out in transition seminars, and 90% of diggers don't understand that, the terms and references that they use. But I didn't have any financial um, like training before I left,
mm,
and I'm super grateful my wife understood money, um, and that we always had savings. But for the average digger that gets out who's single, there's no education package for them to understand how to use their money, when to use it, what to save, what to invest. And it's if you're looking at a high performance rugby league side, they get education in money. They
yeah,
have
okay.
seminars they have to attend. So we're a high performance team. The Defence Force is a high performance team, and any high
Mm,
performance team needs education across all facets of the game. And the one thing
mm,
that we didn't get was any financial sort of education. And even
mm.
when we're discharging and ComSuper it's basically a fact sheet sent to you. And if you don't understand what you're reading, then you're definitely not going to understand how to save money or have money put aside. Even when payouts too, with DVA payouts, there's no manual given to you when you get your payout money. And I've watched so many young diggers just spend their money because they've got no education behind them how to look after their money, so they've got a financially viable future. So it's one of those things that I believe is missing, and
Mm,
we need to start teaching diggers when they join the army about
mm.
well-being, financial well-being, their personal well-being, mental health, PTSD. They've got to be doing that when they join, so that when they leave, they've got an understanding about all the facets of their well-being, and they understand how to move forward. Because at the moment, we're letting
Well,
diggers down.
I couldn't agree more. And it's certainly an area like there's a hell of a lot of support out there, and I'm certainly grateful for some of the support that I've received throughout my transition. But
Yep.
yeah, the financial literacy piece, and especially when you can be 17, you don't learn it in school. You don't learn about money in school, and you can be 17 and then you're straight into the ADF. For some people, I think
Yep.
it's a real growth area, and I'd love to see more happen there.
Yeah.
When
And
it when it
kids don't learn that quick too if they don't understand what they're learning.
well, true, true.
Yeah.
And so for talking about transitions, if you could offer any advice to people who are earlier in their transition journey, what might that be?
Invest in your own transition. There's,
Yep.
Army's not responsible for your transition. And that's something I learned. If I wasn't as invested in my transition as I was, because I made sure that I ticked every dot and crossed every T, and I did all my paperwork, and I found out the information if I needed to. But invest in your transition, because you can sail through and have defence transition you out. 99% of those people will whinge about defence not giving them anything.
Yeah.
And my first question is, well, what did you do for your transition? Did you go to the transition seminar? Did you call people? Did you talk to people who'd already discharged? Did you talk to DVA and get all the paperwork, find yourself an advocate? Did you go see a doctor and make sure that everything was in your docs? What did you do to invest in, your transition? Too many soldiers don't understand that if they don't invest in their own transition, they're going to have a rough time when they get out, because 90% of them should be medical discharges. They discharge as a normal digger with no medical stuff, and then 5 years later, they're struggling. So invest in your transition. That's the best advice I can give anyone.
Oh, no, that's fantastic. And so if it's okay with you, we're going to take a short break for a commercial. All right, so now we just do a creative pause. You can make yourself comfortable, have a drink, do whatever. Is now okay to swap over? We'd be getting close to the 29-minute mark. If that helps, we'll also use this chance to swap the memory cards or whatever needs to happen.
Yeah.
And then we will crack on, and it'll all be cut seamlessly, like it's a well-oiled machine.
It looks like we did it in one take.
We sure did.
that island magic comes strong. Have you been home yet? Have you been back to the islands?
Yeah, I got to go. Well, just before COVID, actually. I had a gig with the Department of Defence, which was awesome. They'd fly me over there, and I was working with the maritime
and I was
security.
really jealous.
Yeah, and there was plans to then expand out, and I was chatting to the MSA Navy bloke in Fiji, and I was going to just hop around the islands and do. Well, most of the training was sort of first aid, alcohol awareness type training for their local defence forces. Great. So I got to go 3 times, and then COVID happened, and then no more.
They ran out of money.
Yeah, they did. I suppose I could never actually followed it up, but now I don't know. Do you reckon you CSC just let me go randomly, guys? Worth a shot.
They should let us both go randomly. We'd kill it out there.
We would.
Maybe just cruise around the islands as teaching. We can do that.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Just give us a $5 million budget per year, because we're going to need it.
Incidentals, it's expensive over there.
Yeah, and a boat. Like, we need a good sized boat so we can travel to the islands, because you can't fly all the time.
Seaplane.
Yeah.
What about a seaplane?
A big one.
Big one. All right. Hang on. All right. So we're going back. They're telling me I need to do my job. Okay. So thank you for sharing your story so far with us, Coco. It is inspiring to hear about your ADF career and some of the challenges you faced during your transition.
Thank you.
What steps did you take to achieve financial wellness and overcome any post-transition challenges?
Yeah, I'm lucky I had my wife,
Yeah.
because I can't, my brain injury, I can't remember numbers really well in that. So, but all our payouts, we sat down and discussed. I got a financial advisor, and I also had a really close mate of mine who works in like investments and runs his own company, Hindsight Wealth, and I made sure that I sat down with him and had a chat after the financial advisor, which was provided by DVA. Um,
Well,
which is good. Like, I think it's important that we go through that process. But I
well,
was lucky that I had good contacts already in the wealth investment game, and getting the opportunity to sit down and have a chat with Tam and discuss where we could put our money or what we're looking after, how we should, receive those payments. We we had a goal of getting a house, so every time we had a payment come through, we'd work out, excuse me, how much needed to go where. And then
okay.
I'd call up Chris at Hindsight Wealth and just say, mate, this is what we're thinking. Got some advice off him, and then we would make the appropriate arrangements for each of the payouts that came through. And we're debt free now, so apart from the house, we're debt free. So um, if I
Congratulations. That's
didn't get
awesome.
that, if I didn't get that education or have access to people in the game that understand money, then like you're going to get lost really quick because it's very convoluted with our payments,
Well,
and it's very
well,
easy to lose sight of how much you're spending, um,
yeah.
especially if you've got no education in that financial fitness sort of area. So if people need to understand it, like do a bit of research and get onto a really good accountant that understands money, or a money advisor, a financial advisor, and just have a chat with them because you can learn some really good things about budgeting and where to put money and who to invest with and how much to invest and all that sort of stuff. So I had to do it the hard way, like I had to do a lot of research on my own. But as I say, invest in your transition, and you will find there's a lot of support out there, like you say.
Yeah. Fantastic. You've had a stellar career, obviously in the ADF, but it's you've since sort of gone on and done all sorts of amazing things. So you do a lot of speaking engagements. What are some other things you've done since leaving the military?
Yeah, I actually hopped around working with the National Rugby League, doing game development with kids in schools. I worked with Queensland Rugby League in a wellbeing capacity last year. Just a lot of travel sort of run my body down a bit, so I made some changes. I've done helicopter underwater escape training, and my
Wow.
speaking business. I've managed to speak to wallabies, the kangaroos, cows, a number of other NRL teams and rugby union sides. Um, and then going back into defence and doing some leadership and resilience training with my consultancy side is other, that's a lot of fun when you get back into that side of it and give
Wow.
back. And also go down to the School of Health, and we had a bit of a rotation there every year. I'd go down and speak to all the new courses that were marching out. Sort of slowed down since COVID, but that's, it is what it is. Yeah, it's been pretty cool, and I love podcasting. So I've done a few podcasts since I've left defence and talked about my journey and the mental health side and that physical health side. So it's, yeah, everything's good, mate. I'm happy, and I've got two great kids and a great wife. So um, that's probably the best achievement I ever did was watch my kids graduate high school. It's the highlight I've had over the last 10 years. Is when my son graduated 2 years ago. It was the proudest day. Like, that two of our kids have graduated grade 12 and they've got licenses, and they still live at home. But, I miss so much of their growing up that living at home now is good because I get to see them. So it's, pretty amazing life.
Well, you're kicking goals, and you have certainly used a lot of your time in the military to as a stepping stone onto great things. But equally, there is no such thing more important than spending time with your family and loved ones.
Absolutely, mate. It's a big island thing for us. We family is really important, and it's always a matriarch that's the one that we look up to, and grandmas and everything. And my mum, um, Still lives in Bowen, still cooks me what I want when I go home, and like that's just how it is. But I don't think I'd be anywhere close to where I am now without my family beside me. So, we always got to look after our family. So that's something that's pushed me along the whole time I was in defence, and got me in trouble a couple of times too, where I put family first, and some people didn't agree with that. But I've got a hard head, so I'm happy to take those hits.
And I bet you certainly don't regret those decisions either.
Nope, none of them at all, mate. No matter how much trouble I got in, I'm happy to make the stand, and my family will always come first, and that's the way I treated my career. So certain individuals didn't like that, but I'm not fussed about that.
Well, Coco, it's been absolutely amazing talking to you. Is there anything wrapping up else that you'd like to add, or anything else you'd like to say before we finish up?
Mate, it's just, I'm super grateful and appreciative that you reached out. I'm not very good at phoning people and chatting to you and staying in contact. I sort of live in my own little space sometimes, but I said at the start that you've done an amazing job, and I've watched you grow through trauma and adversity, and you are one of the people that I love watching just do good things for other people. So I'm proud of you, mate. Like, I've watched you grow from a young little digger, go through some really tough times, and you've stood up and been accountable for everything that you've done in your life. And I think you should be applauded for that. And I just hope you keep inspiring young women just to be empowered and be tough in their own way, and keep teaching people how to live on the right side of life, because what you're doing is amazing, and I love you for what you're doing, and I love you as a person. I'm so grateful to call you a friend, and I just want you to know how proud that a lot of people are of you and your journey. So keep kicking ass and keep showing people the way.
Thank you so much. I said to you I wouldn't let you let me cry, and now I'm at the point where I'm not crying, but I'm going to stumble over my words. But look, thank you so very much. And look, it's easy to respect and fall in love with people who serve their country, and they've inspired me for my entire life. So it's easy to wake up each day and look for ways to improve their experience, and look for ways that they can be recognised and understood better, I guess, in the broader community. So
that's
thank
awesome,
you so
mate.
much for your time.
No problems at all.
Thanks, Coco, for sharing your incredible story, and thank you to all our listeners. We trust you've gained some valuable insights from this dynamic discussion with Coco. Stay tuned for more inspiring veteran transition tales. Follow us on social media or check out our website for the latest updates. Sign up to Vets Hub using the link in the episode notes.